is Christina Barnier. Watch your Black Tea News. Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about Trump being kicked from the Colorado Republican primary by the Colorado Supreme Court. And that is the big news that came out yesterday. And also the reactions to it. Vivek suggested something very interesting, but I thought very performative and um, something I think is kind of reasonable. So I want to talk about why, but yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy for the Supreme Court to do that. I assume it'll be overturned, but it's really really awful for the country. And I don't think you can overstate how bad it is. Also, I want to talk about Cocomelon, which I'm not a fan of that baby, actually, to be honest. But a lot of people are upset and talking about it right now because Netflix has Cocomelon on there. Apparently, in one of their shows, they have a boy in a tutu and a song about being yourself for his two dads on there. So we'll be talking about that and some other shows that have gone that route as well, that are like programming for young kids where they inject that sort of stuff into it. So there's some parents pretty upset about that today. Also, Rob Smith, he was at an event that was like during AmFest. He went to like a I don't know, a party or something afterwards. And there were some guys who were like America First grouper. I don't know what Nick Fuentes' kind of folks, America First folks, were harassing him, heckling him, you know, just started yelling out stuff at him. So he went on CNN to talk about it. And his interview was pretty interesting. I'm not going to play the whole segment because that whole segment's like 10 minutes, but I'm going to play the segment that he shared on his socials, where oddly it somehow became about Nikki Haley and Chris Christie and Ron DeSantis as opposed to the people who actually came at him. So it was all very strange and worth I think calling out. So anyway, before we jump into it, I encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, because it does cost a stream and run my website, all that stuff, so you guys can support in that way. I very, very much do appreciate it and appreciate you. If you're watching on Facebook, you guys can send stars. If you're watching on YouTube, you guys can send super chats. I do read super chats, as long as they're not, I don't know, obscene or something. I'll read them. So guys can also do, I think I said super thanks already. Check out my website, check out different merch on the website that you guys can get as well. I'm trying to pull some up, like I got some pro-life merch there. I got different mugs, like the "You Are Not That Special" mug. Go ahead and trigger someone in your life. We got the black tea mug as well. My money, my business, all kinds of goodies. I do have this pro-choice men are sus shirts, and sus is short for suspect. And man, I ran into a situation today, if I could really quickly tell you guys about it. I want to do like a little segment, like make a special intro video and have little shorts like pro-choice men are sus or something like that. I don't know. I gotta figure it out. But today and this afternoon I was going out really quick, but I decided to look at TikTok, and then I got sucked into a live, so I had to like pump my brakes. So because it was a couple pro-lifers versus like a few pro-choicers, and one guy was in there, he's pro-choice, and he was saying that by not allowing a woman to get an abortion, we treat her as subhuman. And so I find that kind of rhetoric pretty offensive. So I requested and I had been on some of their like lives before, but I'm not I don't know if I was mutuals with anyone who was really on the in the chat, but they let me in, and I waited till he was finished having his conversation with one of the pro-life people, and I was like, can I come in now?" So they're like, "Go ahead." And I said, I want to go back to that subhuman thing, because if you're going to say that women are treated as subhuman if we don't have the right to kill our children, um, then what you're saying is that women are inherently subhuman to men, that we are inherently inferior, and we inherently have less rights than they do. Pregnancy, you cannot like it or whatever, but that is how our species reproduces. We're the ones who carry the children. That is just natural biology. You can be mad at God, you can be mad at mother nature, you can be mad at evolution, but this is our natural biological process, and our bodies prepare for it, basically our entire lives. And so to think that we need some kind of special privilege to kill our children that nobody else has in order to be equal to men, or in order to not be treated as subhuman, that would mean that you inherently feel that we are subhuman if we do not have the special privilege. So people liked that line of argumentation. He didn't, I guess, but he didn't really have some good arguments, but I just wanted to throw in that route because they had pretty much everything else, to a T. But going that route is just again crazy to me. We are not an inferior sex. We don't need abortion to be equal to men. And I know that's not what he, I don't know, originally maybe thought within his heart, but that's what he well I that's what he basically said. And when right before he just dropped himself out of the conversation, he said, "Well, I'm going to impregnate all of you whores." And then he dropped. So, pro-choice men are sus. Like, you can't come in the conversation as if you're I don't know, trying to be some kind of chivalrous knight in shining armor for women, standing up for women, and then go ahead and say something so grotesque. And I was like, well, he would never touch me, so is he saying that he supports sexual assault now? Because he definitely wouldn't be impregnating us females in the chat, and also very much not a whore. So um another episode of pro-choice men are sus. So again, where's the shirt? If you ever wonder why I made it, plenty of opportunities give me reasons to have this shirt be made. There's a story, by the way. I don't have all the details in front of me, so I'm not going to cover it here. I'm going to do a special video of a woman just announced that she was expecting a child with a basketball player. So I guess someone else who he had impregnated shared that he had basically coerced her, bribed her into getting an abortion, and really tragic, messed up situation. So I'll talk about that more at a later date. So anyway, let's get to the Trump stuff. That's what I'm sure people have tuned in or will tune in later. And thank you to those of you who watch live, and for those of you who watch back when you're coming home from work and whatnot. Very much do appreciate you. So Trump has been kicked from the ballot in Colorado for the Republican primary, and they're citing the 14th Amendment, which is really wacky. Because I mean, the point of that was to out like Confederates and stuff who were traitors to the country, but they're saying that he led an insurrection. And let me just read the little snippet. I already posted this on at least Facebook last night, but in this appeal from a district court proceeding under the Colorado Election Code, the Supreme Court considers whether former President Donald J. Trump may appear on the Colorado Republican presidential primary ballot in 2024. A majority of the court holds that President Trump is disqualified from holding the office of president under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution because he is disqualified. It would be a wrongful act under the election code for the Colorado Secretary of State to list him as a candidate on the presidential primary ballot. The court stays this ruling until January 4th, 2024, subject to any further appellate proceedings. So they're expecting that it will probably be challenged. Absolutely needs to be challenged. I hope Trump's lawyer in the miniskirt gets on that really quickly, I guess, or someone more competent than her, and go ahead and file that appeal, and the Supreme Court, I would assume, would overturn that. Well, I guess the most obvious thing to point out would be Trump has not been charged and convicted of insurrection. So if this man has not even had the opportunity to have due process on that particular thing, how can you just decide that that happened and he's guilty of that and thus needs to be removed from the ballot? So there's that. He had it's just so bizarre. It's just so bizarre. Also, Jack Smith he charged him with a lot of things. Obviously, Trump has, with all of his court proceedings and stuff upcoming, it's like 91 indictments, and I'm pretty sure insurrection is not any that they decided to go for. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I read through the stuff and I don't remember that being a thing. So there's his documents and stuff with the electors and so on, but January 6th wasn't an insurrection. And I know a lot of people like to say that on MSNBC and CNN and other places, but it wasn't an insurrection. And even was it John Bolton? He was on CNN and he's like, that was not an insurrection. That was not a coup. He's like, I know coups. He's like, that was not a coup. So I would wager that they would think Trump wouldn't be even capable of plotting one, really, Bolton and some other people's stances. But yeah, that was not a coup. Now, it was a riot. It was a riot that got out of control. And I think Trump shouldn't have had that rally that day. I don't think people should have gone. I know people who went there just to go to the rally, didn't go to the Capitol. I know people who went in the Capitol. I know people who are in jail right now. Not going to spend Christmas with their families. Because of this whole situation. It wasn't a good thing by any means, but was Trump plotting to lead an insurrection to take over the country? There are people who did not have the best of intentions there. People can all say it was Antifa and other stuff like that. One thing about the footage being released, and people are saying, we need more footage released. There's some footage that does not make Republicans or Trump supporters who went there look good. Just FYI, it's a mixed bag. Most people were absolutely peaceful and went there to support the president. Again, I know people who just went there and shared their stories about why they like Trump, the country, and etc. Blah blah blah. They had a lovely, beautiful day. I had a friend who wrote like an article about just a nice time that she had there. But there was some crazy stuff that happened that day. But again, not an insurrection. Riot, sure. Not an insurrection. So it's so political, and again will be overturned. But to do all this without actually convicting him of that is what's most absurd. And this is the lawfare that people keep saying going against Trump. It's obvious. It's plain as day. There's some things that he's done that are like some of the charges that he's had throughout his 4 indictments. Some are absurd, like the ones in New York. Some are a big stretch of like different statutes and stuff. The Florida case is the one that I think that's going to give him the most trouble, though that might be the most favorable jury. I don't know what that outcome will be. I don't know what any of these outcomes will be. I'm not terribly optimistic, to be frank with you. because I don't know that he'll when I do think the Florida case is kind of bad, but in the other cases, I don't think he'll get probably a fair day in court. And I hate to be pessimistic about it, but if we're being honest, don't we all kind of assume that and feel that way? But this, but at least those are days in court. This is just like, nah, let's just kick him for something that he's not even guilty of. Well, we've decided he's guilty of something that he hasn't been charged and convicted with. So, how far does this go, and how much can we like apply to this going forward? If there's some radical Supreme Courts on the right who want to kick folks off the ballot, or um, or people who want to go after their political opponents and stuff. And if you want Trump to not be a thing, going after him isn't the way, because people just feel more protective of him and they fight for him. Even people who don't like him will say, hey, this is obviously wrong. And they're expending a lot of energy going after the injustice, even though they'd rather be supporting another candidate. So once again, Trump just sucks all the oxygen, but there's people who are obviously doing something wrong against him, and he just becomes the whole entire world. And then people feel like they have to donate to him because they want him to be able to fight these, these unjust rulings, these unjust indictments and other stuff like that. So it just makes him more likely to be the nominee, which, the polls suggest such things anyway. But if you want to get rid of Trump, the best thing would have been to just ignore him if you were on the left. Now, I do think that that's the whole point, though, that they're aware that he's sucking up the oxygen, and they want people to be defending him rather than taking the time to try to sway people to DeSantis or Haley or other kind of opponents. They want people to feel so protective, like, well, I was thinking about this other guy, but they hate Trump so much that he must be the one they're really afraid of. I think that is part of the plan. For folks to be so gung-ho about him, to feel like he's the only option, and then at the end of the day, he might face more challenges where he's kicked off of other ballots, or once he starts getting indicted on convicted on some things, they'll feel, well, at that point, probably more justified in removing him from some ballots. But the electorate will not like the fact that he's convicted, and will just not go out and vote for him. Like, if you're, or even people on the right who may vote for him aren't going to be enthused to go out and door knock and say, hey, will you vote for Trump? And they're like, you're supporting the felon who was convicted in a court of law. And what do you do then? I mean, go ahead and say, oh, well, that's all fake. And then you're getting into a different discussion or whatever, than jobs and whatnot. It's a huge distraction. And believe me, they are well aware of it. I saw Steve Deese, there's a Dace or Die. It's probably Deese. He was talking about this, all the stuff, and he was saying that he didn't think that the Colorado Supreme Court was probably in line with the plan of like Jack Smith, because that's probably more of a this is like too extreme what the court did here. But even Jack Smith, like I saw a segment on CNN where they were talking about Jack Smith trying to really, really do the speedy trial. And the only way to look at it is he's trying to do it before the election. And there's like an unspoken and maybe spoken rule at the DOJ and stuff, that you don't want to do cases or handle them in a way where they will interfere with the election. But he's obviously trying to get a conviction prior to the election, and that will obviously have a huge outcome, because Trump, you have the right to a speedy trial, but Trump obviously doesn't want a speedy trial. He'd prefer to have it after the election, so it's not a big distraction. So they're, um, we'll see what that outcome actually ends up being, if they can actually go ahead and have the trial prior to the election and get a conviction, because that again will suck up a lot of Trump's time, Trump's money, won't be able to campaign, as they introduce, stuff in the court every day and new stories coming out. It's going to end up depressing the base. It's going to make maybe independents who are iffy on Biden be like, you know what, I can't go back to the Trump circus. It's just a big mess. And it is election interference. And a lot of people talk about Trump playing 4D chess. The Democrats have gone beyond with the 4D chess, and we're in some really big trouble, just to be frank. Because I think their plot is pretty transparent, but I think too many people also don't care. And it's I will go down with this ship and I will close my eyes and surrender. So that's what it's that's what it's very much like. But people, there's a lot of people who don't think the ship is going to go down, and ultimately we will be victorious. And that I would like Joe Biden to, or the Democrats in general, to not be in the White House in 2025. I really, really would like that. I'm just a little more pessimistic. Um, I'm just a little more pessimistic. Someone asked the question about Cocomelon's gone woke. I haven't gotten to the Cocomelon segment. We're still on Trump. We will get to Cocomelon. So yeah. Anyway, Vivek Ramaswamy, after he found out the news of the Colorado Supreme Court, he put out a statement, and so many people were applauding his statement, and I had issues with it. Someone go ahead and play it.
They have just tried to bar President Trump from the Colorado ballot using an unconstitutional maneuver that is a bastardization of the 14th Amendment to our U.S. Constitution. This was a provision, Section 3, that was designed to bar Confederate members, people who switched to the Confederacy, from actually being able to serve. That's very different than what's at issue here, to say the least. This is a hollowed out husk of what the country was built on. The basic principle that we, the people, select our leadership, not the unelected elite class in the back of palace halls. That's old world Europe, not the United States. That's why I'm making a pledge today that I will withdraw. I pledge to withdraw from the Colorado GOP primary ballot unless and until Trump's name is restored. And I demand that Ron DeSantis and Chris Christie and Nikki Haley do the same thing, or else these Republicans are simply complicit in this unconstitutional attack on the way we conduct our constitutional republic. I refuse to be complicit in that. I think what they're doing is wrong, and I think it's up to Republicans to step up and stand up with a spine for our country's future. That's really what's at stake, whether we, the people, actually have a say in deciding who leads this country. Yes, it would be easier for other Republicans like me who are running in this race to say, hey, if Trump is sidelined, there's our opportunity. No doubt other candidates are probably privately celebrating with their corporate sponsors. That's not the right thing to do. I think the most useful thing that every GOP candidate can do right now is to join me in that pledge. I'll say that I will withdraw from that Colorado GOP primary ballot until Trump's name is restored. This belongs to the people, not to the unelected Democratic cabal of judges in Colorado or any other state. And I demand that Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley and Chris Christie do the same thing, or else they're complicit in what this security state is trying to do to shut down Trump. I stand by that, and I expect them to do the right thing.
So, I think he really is a jerk. First of all, he's correct in what he said about the Colorado Supreme Court. What they're doing is wrong. They are bastardizing the 14th Amendment. He's right about what it was originally intended, etc. Blah, blah, blah. He's right on that. But getting to the point where he's like, he pledges himself to not be on the ballot. Yeah, there's not a lot to lose when you were never going to win and you like your clicks and internet fame or whatever from a particular crowd, and you want to kiss up to Trump like he has been doing pretty much the entire campaign, and making a pledge himself and then demanding everyone else to do what he says, or they're complicit in something that they did not do. Like, how dare you say that? That's crazy. And what he's asking, to be frank, Trump would not do this for any of those other candidates. And I saw someone say that Vivek wouldn't do it if he was 50 points ahead. Trump wouldn't do it himself. Everyone should say it's bad. Ron DeSantis tweeted out something about, like, someone said something about Banana Republic. He retweeted it and he like said something. I don't know what Haley and Christy said. I'm assuming they think this is overall just a bad thing for the country, and it is a terrible thing for the country. But Trump absolutely would not do what Vivek is saying. And if you're like, how do you know that? The Trump camp, well, a Trump PAC literally earlier this year tried to get Ron DeSantis kicked from the ballot. That happened this year. That happened this year. So and I've written about this on the website before, but the AP reported, I think this was back in March or something. It was earlier. Allies of former President Donald Trump have filed a complaint with the Florida Commission of Ethics accusing Governor Ron DeSantis, a leading potential 2024 primary rival, of violating campaign finance and ethics rules for a shadow run for the White House. The 15-page complaint filed Wednesday by MAGA Incorporated, a Trump-supporting super PAC, and shared with the Associated Press, asked the commission to investigate Florida's Republican leaders for allegedly leveraging his elected office and breaching his associated duties in a coordinated effort to develop his national profile, enrich himself and his political allies, and influence the national electorate. And they asked for the most stiffest penalty, which was a removal on the ballot. And so, Trump, also, back in the day, did want people to be marked as ineligible. Here's some tweets in the past from Cruz and Rubio, or about Cruz and Rubio. And also elevating Hillary Clinton not being allowed to run. And he once said, I'll tell you other things. She shouldn't be allowed to run. He said she's guilty of a very, very serious crime. She should not be allowed to run. And just in that respect, I say it's rigged, because she should never have been allowed to run for the presidency based on what she in the emails and so many other things. So, I mean, we all think that she did some dirty things with her emails and mishandled classified information, and she got off way too easy by the Obama administration, and then Trump himself when he was the president. He just kind of let it go, but perhaps for the good of the country. But people complain about unfair treatment when he was the one who started the precedent of he was going to let it go. And they obviously were never going to do the same thing for him. So you could be mad about it, but he made his decision and they made theirs. But he didn't think that she should run. And so if people follow the same sort of line of thinking that he at least had for Hillary Clinton, people should be saying, well, he's accused of so many things, mishandling those documents. He's on tape talking about how he didn't declassify these documents, but apparently showed those documents to other people. Then he had people hide them from his lawyers, and they claim that they gave them over, but they didn't really give them over. And some guy flew them out to New Jersey. And, if people said all that stuff about how he handled those documents, and again, he said he didn't declassify some of the stuff that he had, and he could have, but he didn't. People can make a similar case about him not being the president. So what Vivek is saying about how everyone needs to just drop from the Colorado primary until they restore Trump, which I'm sure the Supreme Court will end up having that restored anyway, so claiming that they should all drop from the ballot. That's Trump would not do that. Trump wouldn't even promise to not run an independent campaign if he wasn't able to be the nominee. He hasn't promised to support the nominee that I'm aware of. He goes after Republicans who don't support him and threatens to primary them, and like Chip Roy and other folks. She's going after Ted Cruz because I said this yesterday. I'd be surprised if Ted Cruz didn't endorse Trump, but Trump is already like on the attack. So um I'm not saying because Trump wouldn't do it that that's not a good reason to not do it, but I don't think that it's a good reason. Like Matt Walsh said, about the statement Vivek made. He's like, I might be this might be an unpopular opinion, but what's the point of everyone removing themselves from the ballot and Colorado not being represented? He's like, this just kind of sounds like something the Democrats would want. And a protest should hurt your enemy, not your who it shouldn't hurt yourself, or you could risk yourself, but if it's not going to hurt your enemy, there's no point in doing it. So let's say it doesn't get overturned and then a lot of people just start throwing Trump off the ballot. It just kind of makes it seem like we should have contingency plans. And I'm not saying I want Trump to go out in the way that they're trying to make him go out, because I think it's awful for the country. I do. But I also don't think that these people should disadvantage themselves for, well, I guess really for any reason, but particularly for Trump. No, he wouldn't do the same. He wouldn't do the same. It's not a smart thing. It's not a smart thing to do, to put the voters in that situation, like a no-win situation in case we get there. It's not fair to the people who support them and who want to vote for them. The country is bigger than one man, so that's one reason why they should drop out. But since the country is bigger than one man, that's another reason why they should stop treating Trump so unfairly and going after him so hard in the way that they are. It's just really bad for the country and sets really terrible precedents. And I don't know how far this will go. I'm not going to say civil war. Ben Shapiro opened his show today. He's like, we're one step closer to civil war. I don't believe that, because at the end of the day, I think people talk a big game. But if y'all let the government lock y'all in your houses and shut down your businesses and jab yourself, even after they're like, you can still spread it, and you wore your face diapers and all that stuff. And I know there was like civil disobedience and there were some protests and stuff, but they shut down the country, and then they still did that to you like a year later, even though they allowed like BLM riots and all kinds of different stuff. So I was really surprised at how much of a sheep population that we actually have in the United States of America. Because even after January 6th, someone who was there, not I don't know if in the Capitol, but if they were like there, like they were talking to me after all that stuff had happened, and they're like, when I was coming home, I kept talking to people, and they kept saying like, hey, something's got to be done, and it, like, I don't know, we were talking like people were at a breaking point, like they were willing to fight to save the country or something like that. And I told them, I'm like, no, they're not. I was like, no, they're not. Like the government's like, no, you guys can't go to church, and we're like, okay, we're not going to do that. Now I went to church, didn't miss it. We actually added a day to the week. Our youth Bible study, which I have tonight. I don't think we've stopped it since the pandemic. I don't think we've missed a Wednesday. Maybe I was out of town a time or two, but it kept going. So yeah, but people just, if people could let the government just rule them in that kind of way, I don't think we're anywhere close to civil war. Now I don't know what would be the thing that would pop it off. Because who would know, who would think that some of the stuff that, led to big rebellions like tea, other stuff would, be the tipping point. There's so many things that contribute to the contentious nature in the country right now. So I just don't think there's that kind of passion on Trump's behalf to set the country ablaze like that. I think he's got a lot of people who are very passionate and loving toward him, but it's not like how it used to be. And again, if y'all let the government just shut you down. Um I don't think people are the roaring lions they pretend to be. Just to be frank, I think a lot of y'all are talk. Um now I'm not saying there's not people out there. Um but most people, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Before we get to the Cocomelon, it's gonna be the last thing I talk about, just FYI. I want to talk about the situation with Rob Smith. He's a black gay conservative, and I guess was one of the speakers at AmFest. Um, and that was like a Turning Point USA thing. And so there was another Republican event that was going on around the same time or whatever. So he went to some kind of restaurant where folks are meeting up, and he got heckled by some America First gropers. I don't know. I think that's what they call themselves, but like that are like the underlings of like Nick Fuentes, his fans and stuff. And Rob has turned it into a big like internet sensation situation and was on CNN the other night. So I'm going to play a little bit of the interview, but let me at least play the initial event that started it all. There might be some language in there that you guys don't like, but I'm going to play it nonetheless, just giving you a fair warning.
Yes, Nick Fuentes loves gay sex.
No, he doesn't. Faggot, 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 faggot.
America first! America first! America first! America first! America first! America first! America first!
So that was the video that's going around that he's sharing, and it was talking about the event. And he's like, yeah, people are coming from me because I'm a conservative, they don't like gay black Republicans in the party, etc., blah blah blah. And so he mentioned the Nick Fuentes stuff because he recognizes that those guys are within that circle, within that group or club or whatever. So he went on CNN to talk about it. The whole segment was like 10 minutes long. And it was interesting because at one point she's like, they were talking about these people, like, are you surprised they're in the party? And he's like, well, if we're going to talk about, white supremacy on the right, we got to talk about it on the left. And she seemed confused by that. And I was a little taken aback by it myself because I'm like, okay, there's people who are like Trump supporters yelling obscenities at you. By the way, he says that they called him the N-word, but it just wasn't on tape. The people who were there are denying it, who are part of it. They deny that they called him the N-word. I don't know if that's true or not. I think they were rude enough anyway. I wouldn't might have happened, might not have happened, whatever. But of course CNN would see that and be like, ooh, that's red meat. Like, yeah, we want to show that there's these people within the Republican Party. We want to blast that and make it a 10-minute segment. And we're going to, make it a big thing. And so he goes on there to talk about this incident. He's well aware that these are like Trump supporters who are, and by the way, this is not indicative of most Trump supporters. By the way, I have a MAGA hat somewhere myself. So don't be like, oh, she's coming for Trump supporters. But it's just the fact that these guys are like America First, Nick Fuentes, Trump supporter kind of people. It's just a fact. So she gets to show that on CNN, And Rob came on there to talk about it on CNN, and all of a sudden he's like, well, we got to talk about the white supremacy of the left. So she was kind of taking it back, because that's not what the segment is about. Now, when you do an interview, you go on there to turn the narrative, to get your narrative out. Like they have a goal and you have a goal, and you want to make sure that your goal wins out at the end of the day. However, specifically that incident was what they were trying to talk about, and it had nothing to do with Democrats. And he was like, there, you got to go online and see what people are calling me in my comments. And there are more people like who was in that video saying things about him being gay. And I didn't see a lot of black stuff, actually. Most of it was about him being gay. I'm not saying they don't say stuff about him being black, but and I'm not, I get comments from people about my race and other stuff from the left. So he's not wrong that people from the left say racist things and will use homophobia as well when they can to even get at you, try to get under your skin or whatever as well. So it's a both side of the aisle kind of issue, because people are just scummy. People can be scummy, but it was strange. Just trying to turn the tide. If he didn't want to talk about those Trump supporters in the video, he shouldn't have gone on CNN to talk about it. Because misdirecting or shifting the conversation to like, oh yeah, I get some stuff in the comments, when these people literally came up to you in real life to harass you, it just doesn't have the same ring to it. So this is a segment from CNN that he clipped and put on his social media that I'm going to play, because this is where it gets super bizarre to me. Absolutely super.
Mainstream Republican Party right now. I have seen Donald Trump be the first Republican to ever, the first president to ever enter office supporting marriage equality, either Democrat or Republican. I saw him partner with the RNC and the Log Cabin Republicans to spend over $1 million in a get out the vote effort specifically targeting gays and lesbians in this country, okay? And spend over $1 million to do that, okay? So I look at what people do. And so now when you want to talk about having somebody denounce this, I've seen Donald Trump denounce white supremacy over and over and over again for the past 8 years. I have not seen Ron DeSantis denounce this. I have not seen Vivek Ramaswamy denounce this. I have not seen Nikki Haley denounce this. I have not seen Chris Christie denounce this. So if we're going to talk about the future of this party, and these white supremacists absolutely do exist in this party, we all saw me face them from face to face. I'm looking at soulless, dead-eyed white supremacists that, by the way, I felt that these people could have bashed my brains in had they gotten the chance. I deal with these people in real life, and I know for a fact where they're coming from. I know that a lot of these people have infiltrated these conservative organizations from top to bottom. There needs to be accountability, and I'm exploring options as how to do so right now. But do I think that this stuff is coming from the millions of people that voted for Trump? I do not. I do not. Do I think that it's something that the Trump campaign endorses or the Republican Party endorses? I do not, because I
just
know
want the
these
record to
people
show
and
that
I have been around these people.
So it cut off right there. But when she's like, I just want the record to show. And she said, I just want the record to show that I did not bring up Trump or ask about Trump. So he wanted to throw that in there about this doesn't reflect the Trump supporters. But he also brought up, like, does Vivek Ramaswamy denounce? Do you really think Vivek wouldn't denounce that stuff? And Vivek talks about treating people with dignity and respect. All these people talk about Christie, Haley. You really think these people wouldn't denounce that stuff? The reason why Trump has been asked to denounce all that stuff all the time is because people have a narrative about him being a racist and all that stuff. That's why he gets asked that all the time. So why are you trying to throw the mud at these other candidates when it's not about those candidates? This conversation is about what specifically happened to you that night with these people who are Trump supporters, and didn't even need to be about Trump, but it's the fact that these guys, you made it a big deal. CNN was like, that's red meat to our base, had you on to talk about it. So just stick with the topic of, yeah, these bad people exist. And how do they get elevated? He mentions in the video Nick Fuentes by name, who was invited to Mar-a-Lago to have dinner with Trump. There was Nick, there was Milo, and there was Kanye West. That was a big thing. I was so mad at Trump. Thought it showed really poor judgment. I heard people close to him say that Trump's got a lot of really bad people around him right now. And I think, I don't know, bad like nefarious or just like bad for him, like stupid. But that was a really bad news week, a couple weeks for Trump. News goes by fast because there's always something new, I guess. But it's bad that those guys have a voice in the party and they kind of keep growing. And he's like, well, I want to see how we can, I'm working on getting rid of him or something. And then you go in and throw the other candidates who's running for president under the bus without acknowledging. Like, I wish she could have, the segment was basically over at that point. But she could have certainly been like, these people like dying at the White House, not those particular people, not the White House, but Mar-a-Lago with Trump, right? Don't you think he's elevating these people? And I didn't bring up the segment to bash Trump specifically or anything, but I don't understand Rob here. I don't understand Rob here. I don't understand the digs at the other candidates. And acknowledging that there's an issue here, but bro, who maybe accidentally, but that absolutely did elevate these people. Who did that? Rob has made some really savvy posts and statements and other stuff before, but I don't know, it was so grifty, perhaps. I hope just to uplift, get clicks for you, a little fame here, throw the other candidates under the bus and uplift Trump. I'm sorry, I have to point out the obvious. I hope the Mar-a-Lago trips are worth it though, bro. I hope they're worth it. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about Cocomelon. That's what you guys want to hear, right? Cocomelon. I don't like Cocomelon. Excuse me. I don't like Cocomelon. So I feel a little justified right now. I'm not going to play the video that's going around. One, because I don't really want to get dinged by Netflix and the copyright of it. So I'm not going to play it. But Cocomelon had on Netflix an episode, or I guess they're maybe common characters or something, but there's two dads on there and they had a song about just be true to yourself and whatever. And there's a little boy who I'm assuming is the redhead's biological son. Don't know if they had the child through IVF and surrogacy, but that's been a big discussion the past couple weeks on the right debate there. But he's on a tutu. So there's that sort of gender confusion there with the Cocomelon. And there's a lot of parents pretty upset today because they pretty much thought Cocomelon was safe. Allie Stuckey was like, everything, eventually they get to it. And she said that Cocomelon had some things where they, uplifted traditional sort of gender roles and etc. But eventually they get to a point where they make a turn. And so Daily Wire has very much been talking about this and promoting Bent Key and their, children's content on their app because they don't have stuff like that on it. But people are like, my kid really loves Cocomelon, and now they feel like their kid can't watch it because they don't know what all they might put in there that might confuse their children with particular ideologies and gender confusion, etc. And it's not new. I think maybe this is about 2 years ago now that Blue's Clues had a pride parade led by this drag queen who is just absolutely vulgar. If recall last year, maybe some viral clips of there was like a drag Christmas with a nippled reindeer and a bunch of other stuff. Nina West was like hosting those things. And so that was the person who Blue's Clues decided to have lead their pride parade. And they were representing all these different families in there, but I thought it was interesting that they didn't have like any straight or traditional sort of families, like with a mom and a dad and the kids. And I know I don't even know if anybody straight was actually in the parade, but they maybe because they got to like allies eventually, but it was like 1 through 10, and the allies didn't even pop up until number 9. And so I had covered this a lot, but I didn't. But sometime later, there was even something more disturbing about this Blue's Clues thing. There was, and you can't see them in this picture, I don't think. No, you can't. But because that's one of the floats behind them. But there was a family of beavers in this Blue's Clues. And I don't think they aired this actually on Nickelodeon. It was on YouTube. And I can't say for certain that they never put on Nickelodeon, but it is on YouTube. I'm sure I would assume you could probably still find this. But there was a family of beavers, and one of the beavers had double mastectomy scars. Now, why on God's green earth would a beaver need double mastectomy scars? Why are you promoting that to very small children? And there, it was even dark anyway, so you'd have to really be looking to catch that stuff. So a lot of stuff they put in there to virtue signal to each other, to pat themselves on the back, but they do want to instill these particular ideologies within their kids and normalize it, etc. And that is self-harm, to chop off your healthy breasts and then to glorify those scars. Beavers, how many beaver titties have you seen in your life that would require that sort of surgery? To the scar. It was just so absurd. But they made sure to go ahead and put it on Blue's Clues. There's also another like YouTube thing called Gracie's Corner that my nieces and nephew would watch sometimes, perhaps not anymore, where they'd have like different songs about counting money and what sound does a letter make, like what sound does a letter make. It's kind of like a hip hop Cocomelon sort of situation. So Gracie's Corner, they had on Big Frida. I had no idea who that person was. I was talking to my sisters about the Cocomelon thing that was trending today, because I didn't know if my sister knew or not, but I guess one of her kids saw it and told her about it and said, I don't think we should watch Cocomelon. And told her mom about it. So, I guess they're not watching Cocomelon, at least particularly not on the whatever one they have on Netflix. But so they told me like, yeah, Gracie's Corner had something too, and so I had no idea who Big Frida is, but that's him. I don't even know enough to know whether he's trans or if he's just drag. He kind of looks a little like Flavor Flav a bit to me, but especially the picture with the crown there. But this is what they actually drew for Gracie's Corner. Now, yeah, think that's a good animation, that if this person opened their mouth, that it would sound like a man, like a full-blown man. I'm gonna play like a little bit of the talking here so you are aware of, like, I'm gonna play a lot because I don't want to get dinged, but just so you'll be as shocked as I am here about the voice situation here on with Gracie's Corner. Because if I was a child, I'd be very confused why the voice is so deep. I don't get this. I don't get this at all.
Hi, Big Frida.
Hi, Gracie.
I heard that you're the queen of bounce music.
Yes, I am. Whoa. And I heard that you like to row your boat.
I sure do. Come join me.
That-
and
Let's sing.
Row,
row, row.
Yeah, so that's what's going on Gracie's Corner. And you can't I don't know if they've always had their comments locked, but you can't comment on that video, and I looked at another video, you can't. So maybe all their comments are locked. I don't know if that was always the case or not. I can't remember, but delusions. That's deception. Lies, deception. What is it with these kid shows, man? Peppa Pig. There was a petition to have gay people on Peppa Pig, and was it Pandas they made gay, like a lesbian couple or something, and the petition for it was like, children are malleable, like that's why they needed to do it, that's why they needed to have the stuff on there. Yeah, because they're malleable and they want to instill particular values within the kids. And so they want to be able to do that through their entertainment and what they're watching on YouTube. And a lot of parents will, they might dump their kids in front of the TV, but a lot of times people will dump their kids in front of a phone or a tablet, and they will scroll through YouTube and they'll click one video after another. So if you don't teach your kids, well, one, I guess you could and should limit their screen time. But if you don't teach them what you think is right or wrong, what is right and wrong, when they come across something, they're going to be pretty confused. I don't know how even if you had the heads up on that there's some guys who like to dress up as women, I don't know how you could not be confused by Gracie's Corner there, because it's still baffling to me. And yesterday we talked about how the New York Times wrote a hit piece on Bluey and the Chip Chinchilla show on Daily Wire, because the dads were very present in their children's lives, and they're like, this is a fantasy. So it's just bad to have like a traditional sort of family where the dads are in their lives, playing with their kids, teaching them life lessons, schooling their kids, whatever. Doing a little bit of laundry to help out mom, but still, going to work and helping with the kids and all. Like, that's too much. That's just an unobtainable goal, or whatever. It was really bizarre. They were upset that the Daily Wire, that the Chinchilla dad was, teaching them particular values and lessons from historical dead white men, as if we could just ignore all dead white men from history and be better off for it. I don't think so. So that this is the kind of stuff that they dislike, but this is the kind of stuff that people are sneaking into your kids' content that they see as progress. I remember when Paramount announced that they were bringing back Rugrats, and they were doing like a 3D animation style or whatever. And they announced that Phil and Lil's mom was going to be a lesbian. And there was an article that was like, Howard who? And I was I'm pretty offended by a lot of the content that was coming out surrounding that announcement and people's excitement about it. Like, I can understand, if people want particular representation, but they're married. They had a different dynamic that was not very traditional, because she was more masculine, take the lead than him. She was all into athletics and other stuff, and he was the one who would cook and whatnot, and so he was more of a beta male. And but they were together. They were married, and they seemed happily married. Like all of them have a different sort of dynamic, and they're like, oh, well, but she's gonna date, and that's gonna. But they already had the dynamic of a single parent. Chucky's dad. Eventually, he got married, but he was single for a long time out of the dynamic of the parents. So they just really wanted her to be a lesbian, but the commentary was like, Howard who? I'm like, Howard is the children's father, and he's an important figure in their life, and to just oust him because you want so desperately for this character who you think is butch to be gay is pretty troubling, because women can still be um not very feminine, traditionally feminine, and still be attracted to men. They had a dynamic that was unusual. Um, so those kind of couples were at least represented, and they decided to destroy a happy relationship so Betty could go on the dating scene with females, and her kids could have a broken home, I guess. Because they're either she never got married, or maybe they were, I don't know, IVF surrogacy. I don't know. Sperm implanted. I don't know how. I haven't watched it, but I had an attitude. They felt the need to destroy a happy family for their agenda. So definitely have their agendas. It's interesting, and I've mentioned this before, but back when Prop 8 failed in or I guess passed in California, and that was 2008, the year Obama got elected. That was them banning gay marriage in California. I was so shocked when that happened. Like, they banned gay marriage in California. I'm like, what the heck? So people talked about how many minorities were voted against it and stuff. But I didn't really find out till, like, I don't know, earlier maybe sometime last year, looking into the exit polling and the sort of commentary that was surrounding all that at the time. The Yes campaign was saying, okay, if you legalize it, kids are going to learn this in the school. They're going to have all the stuff in the school. And the No campaign was like, no, that's not true. That's not true. And they knew that was a lie. That was a lie. And so but I guess it was effective enough that people who were even Democrat decided to vote down gay marriage, because they, at the end of the day, they didn't want. I mean, go ahead, you live your life, do as you please, but if you're going to start influencing the culture enough that there are certain things that you have to teach in the schools that conflict with, I don't know, my certain sense of traditionalism and family structures and whatnot, then we have a problem. Of course, we know that the Supreme Court decision, Obergefell, overturned that and made gay marriage legal everywhere. And now we're in a situation where there's pornographic sort of content in the schools, or the libraries, at least in school libraries, that people are trying to get pushed out, like gender queer, and this book is gay, and other stuff. And if you point to it, you have folks like Gavin Newsom say, oh, I notice you guys are focusing on this LGBT content. And it's like, because this content happens to be very graphic and not suitable for children. Like, in this book is gay, it like talks about kids going on apps to talk to gay people. Like, don't you think that's maybe a little concerning? Like, you don't know who might be on this app talking to your kids, who could be a little bit older, interested in your child. So it's not appropriate. And there's, like, sexually very graphic things that are in there, but people feel like if you attack these particular books because it's gay nasty stuff, they're like, how dare you, this is an attack on us. So and of course they were upset about the parental rights and education bill, saying, hey, you can't teach gender identity and all this stuff to the kids, or push this stuff, math, science, reading, like, get to the basics. All this other stuff, it should not be pushed on kids. People were so upset about it, and still upset about it. So we've just come a very long way from the slippery slope that people warned about. That people warned about. And so now you got to watch out for Blue's Clues and Cocomelon. So we live in an odd time, but I'm reminded a little bit of Allie Stuckley's speech that she gave at AmFest, and they talked about surrogacy a little bit. Oh, I think she did anyway. Touch on that a little bit. She talked about the trans ideology stuff, but then she talked about traditional sort of families and how you can be upset about the gender ideology stuff, but that bleeds over to the family structure because moms, men and women complement each other and they have different roles. Children want their moms for nurturing sort of stuff. They go to their dads for adventure, something else that they complain about with this Bluey show. And like the mom is just kind of in the background and they want to do this fun stuff with their dad, but that's not the case. Parents are different, but men and women, they do operate within, like, I don't know, predictable sort of parameters. It's not always, but men and women are different. It's just the truth. So people have an issue with that and do want to break down our structure so much that you get articles like this condemning family dogs and chinchillas. So anyway, that's the show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on the website, different articles, different videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com. I think / don't you already say that? Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Go check out different merch that we have at the website. We have mugs and t-shirts that you guys can check out. So go ahead and pick up something for yourself. I do have different books that I've also written as well. I have 17 altogether that you guys can check out. 2 are nonfiction, the rest are fiction. So I've got, children's books with some really good morals and values and stuff in there that you guys can check out with Super Kid and Super Kid 2. And I got stuff for older readers as well. Some stuff is not for little kids. So if you got questions, you can let me know. But if you have questions, let me know. Anyway, I also have my book, of course, Guys Blatantly Against Abortion. That's available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. Someone today, I'm very thankful. They read a lot of my things, and we disagree at times, but we have good conversations. And so they ended up saying that they thought that the way forward for the pro-life position was to keep things secular. And they mentioned incrementalism, which I disagree with that, but I've been having a lot of thoughts about that lately, and I want to weigh in at a different time. But as far as keeping things secular, I don't think that's actually going to help, because people bring it up all the time, even if I don't bring it up. Like, I was watching a live the other day, and people kept bringing up religion, not the pro-life people, the pro-choice people, because they wanted to bring it up, and then they wanted to say something that was not true about the Bible or whatever, or lodge an accusation at them that's like, oh, you only have this position because of XYZ, blah blah blah, and you shouldn't control people with your beliefs, even though they're trying to justify ending children's lives based on their beliefs, that they don't actually see them as alive or whatever, which scientifically, like, it's human and alive. That's just an objective fact. It's just your belief that makes you feel otherwise. So I also saw live a couple, maybe it was last week, there was an former atheist, and he said he was a former atheist, like, right on his thing. So people would bring it up time to time, and he's like, well, when I was an atheist, I still was against abortion. He's like, well, I still knew it was bad, I just didn't care. That was bad because I had a nihilistic view of the world. So now that I'm a believer, I do care about the injustice, but I always knew it was bad. So that, and then people are like, Numbers 5 and Genesis 2 and 7. Actually, they don't know the scripture. They're just like, first breath. and a bunch of wrong things. So I'm like, I think the best thing to do is to acknowledge that we actually have similar values. We have common values. Most people believe that you actually shouldn't kill human beings for because of money, financial gain, and all kinds of different reasons that people usually have for abortion. People think you shouldn't go out and kill people. It's just a matter of perspective on the situation. So people will say, well, it's not a person at this point, or they don't considered alive at this point. So there's something that's skewing their perspective on the matter, but there is like a moral foundation somewhere where there's agreement. You just have to challenge those perspectives until you get closer to I guess the position of, you know, getting rid of abortion. But you have to say your worldview, and they have to say their worldview, and you challenge it to see who has the more consistent position, you know. So I don't think I really don't think there's too much of a point of making more of a secular argument, because even like secular pro-life is accused of being Christians, like secretly not atheists or something. So I think it's a waste of time capitulating to folks. I think it's because what are you going to say? Like, are you a Christian? Are you going to be like, no? If you are, you are, and they're going to think whatever. So it is part of your commission. Still, you can debate abortion all you want, but at the end of the day, you you know, you still have to give people, you know, reason for the hope that lies within you. So go ahead and defend your morals. You know, don't let them distract you with, you know, a bazillion things in the Bible or whatever. But as far as it's wrong to kill people. Do you agree with that? Like we're on the same page about that, right? And then just go from there. Don't try to, you know, shrug it off or whatever, you know. But they won't let you keep it secular. So just debate your worldview. I guarantee you that yours is superior. When you're like, it's wrong to kill babies, I guarantee you that's a superior worldview. Then yeah, it's okay to kill babies. Anyway, thank you guys. I will see you tomorrow.